Gonna 93.4 FM right now. It's gonna straight to getting political affairs and sikubhekela ke lapha bekade kwenzeke in the last 2 days, just like we always do, go 93.4. So namhlanje again we do have Lindokuhle Hadebe. Actually is well qualified in social sciences, ne degree yana. And then sikhuluma nawe njengamanje wenza i-honors kwi-philosophy go 93.4. So yena kusijoyinile nokuyena kuzobe sihlaziyela actually what was happening in the last 2 days until kubeke namhlanje sekulesine kumhla ka-29 kuyona inyanga ka-April 2021. Lindokuhle asikubingelele sikwamukele emsakazweni.
Angibonga kakhulu ngibingelela abantu emakhaya.
Right, ntokoza kakhulu kuba nawe and mhlawumbe ngimtshela umlaleli ukuthi here we'll be looking into the actually EFF freedom fighters. Leader Julius Malema claimed that the sudden announcement of election date actually was meant to catch the EFF and other parties, or when you look at so pega off guard, and then siphinde futhi sibheke lapha Judge Hlophe slammed the country's judiciary system for being compromised actually of mainly white advocates. So ezinye izinto lezo besibheka ngebona lapha nakwizondo as ask how it's possible that all parts of SOEs did not do their job the right way. So when you futhi khona lana sekuthola ngesisulu to meet engineering council actually of ESA of registration of Cuba engineers. Sekhona ukuthi kunojiniyela abazosuka kwelase Cuba beza ngapha sekhona ukuthi ke uminister uLindiwe Sisulu ke bemezela actually shortly local go 93.4 ngibona lapha in Western Cape leader Bonkosi Matikizela as well resignile ke lapha in his position as party provincial leader ngenxa ke lapha yama qualifications akhe. So ezinye izinto lezo esizobe sibheka siphinde futhi sibheke lapha as well nakwi state capture and in what is currently going on and taking place. And we did see our president did appeal kusukela la izolo. So that was one of the things as well as he nazo siphinde futhi sikubukele zona sibhekele zona. Right, without wasting isikhathi esiningi and first of all start straight to the point. Singing straight dubbing. I studied kwi-scandal sikaNomamngoma as she has pointed out that her husband, former finance minister Malusi Gigaba, was a servant of Ama Gupta. Yes. And again, the Gupta informed him that he will become a minister in public enterprises in October 2010, and he actually got the position. So does this mean the Gupta were indeed in charge in the affairs of the South African government?
Okay, absolutely. Initially, in a way, Nomamngoma has pointed out on the basis on the issues ukuthi Umalusi Gigaba was in a way a servant of Amaguptas.
Sure.
And also again that Umalusi Gigaba before he was even told by the president, or before he was even informed by the president about the position ukuthi bazomnikeza iposition yokuba abe minister of public enterprise. So you find ukuthi Amaguptas were the first to know that on the basis of what we were told by Nomamngoma. So that tells you ukuthi if abantu or the business people or Amaguptas were the first people to know ukuthi Umalusi Gigaba would get that particular position without him being told by president. That tells us that Amaguptas had a hand in the affairs or in the administrative things or issues of the state under the administration of the former president Jacob Zuma. Because the country was in a way administered by them, since they were the ones, or they had the ability to know ukuthi Umalusi Gigaba would get the position before the president, which was Jacob Zuma, told him. So in that way, we can say that Amaguptas had a hand or did control the state on the basis of what we are told by Nomamngoma.
All right, asibheke la indaba ye-Freedom Day. Umongameli weqembu le-EFF uJulius Malema so uzwakalise ungajabuli noma unganami ngosuku lwe-Freedom Day. So uvezela ukuthi akakhulekwa ngendlela efanele eNingizimu Afrika, and mhlawumbe ngabe lokhu okuvezwa uyena uMalema kuyiqiniso, and mhlawumbe okunye futhi ngabe ukuthi uma singabheka nje Freedom Day kungabe mhlawumbe isho ukuthini.
Okay, so kusho ukuthi le position of questioner the idea or the idea of the day that we call it Freedom Day, it's on the basis of looking at a style or a level of living amongst the citizens of South Africa. So we need to question on that particular way, what does a Freedom Day mean, on the basis of if they are still people who are struggling in terms of economical and social issues, they are still struggling to make ends meet. You find khona imndeni that are struggling bakwazi ukuthi bazithengele into ezokudla, bazithengele izinto basic needs in terms of ukuthi umuntu akwazi ukuphila. So in that way kuba questionable ukuthi what does freedom mean, ukuthi does freedom mean to have the ability to express yourself, ukuthi mhlawumbe ukwazi ukukhipha uvo lwakho in terms of izinto kuma engagement. Does freedom only means ukuthi having that freedom of speech and freedom of expression, freedom of association, but how about the issues that are pertaining economical and social issues in terms of ukuthi abantu, there are still those who we find ukuthi they are still sidelined and oppressed. We'll say they are oppressed because they are struggling to make or to get a grasp in terms of economic purposes or issues, ukuthi mhlambe bathola opportunities the same as those who get opportunities ukuthi ba play a part. So in that way it becomes questionable because there are still those who are finding themselves to be struggling as in the times of apartheid and the colonialism, whereby mostly it was the black majority who were marginalized by those governments or that were under apartheid and the colonialism. So it becomes a question, even in 27 years, South Africa into democracy, you find we are celebrating a Freedom Day, but still there are people who are still facing issues, socio-economic issues that were faced by the black people under the government of apartheid and under the government of colonialism. So I think that was the basis of him questioning a Freedom Day. But if we can enter on the basis of in the South African context, what do we look at when we talk about the Freedom Day? We're looking at a transition. We find there was an apartheid government whereby abantu were not allowed, abantu abamnyama were not allowed to associate in terms with other races, and also they were deprived of opportunities. So under this new dispensation whereby there is a freedom under the democratic government, you find ukuthi abantu abamnyama are now given that chance to associate themselves in a way they like. They are given a chance to nabo I would say they have better opportunities compared to those times because they were marginalized. But the problem is that under this current government, you find they have not got, or they have not fully recovered or given the chance to grow like in the basis whereby you find which babe oppressed. So the same feeling they are having it because of in deprivation in terms of economic dispensation.
Okay, see, asibheke la indaba ngiyabonga inkosi mamadikizela ubade umholi weqembu la IDA lapha eWestern Cape. Kuvelela ukuthi usulile esikhundleni sakhe, and ngabe mhlambe lokhu kube impoqo noma mhlambe usule nje voluntarily noma mhlambe uyisulele nje ngaphoqwanga. But if ukuthi sibheke la ukuthi ngabe mhlambe ukusula kwakhe, was it actually there's a reason behind in his resignation, or was he forced to, maybe it was voluntarily ukuthi mhlambe I resign?
Okay, i-issue kaMadikizela, it becomes questionable because you find ukuthi he was not the only one to resign from Democratic Alliance. There is a report that rise ukuthi also one of the members in the higher structures of the DA in Western Cape by the name of Dr. Noma French Mbombo also resigned from positions at the DA or resigned from Democratic Alliance. Sure. So initially I would say issue leya resignation yakhe was a forced resignation because you find ukuthi there was an issue of him being exposed about lacking qualifications or lying about qualifications zakhe. So there was that political pressure from within the DA ukuthi yena kumele resign because he lied about his qualification. So initially I would say that point or that issue or his resignation was on the basis of him being forced or influenced by the members or by the Democratic Alliance alone. But my questions will rise, why was the same procedure not applied to Natasha Mazzoni, because Natasha Mazzoni also lied about her qualifications, but you will find the Democratic Alliance defending her. So we'll say in terms of Madikizela, it was some sort of a political pressure that made him resign. But if there was no pressure that was coming within the organization, which is Democratic Alliance, I don't think he was going to resign.
All right, and sihlale phambili sibheke la mfethu ngibona la former president of the ANC Mnumzana Jacob Zuma, and useveza ukuthi iqembu le-ANC actually lifile. So ngabe mhlambe yini ebangela ukuthi akhiphe amazwi afana nawo, noma mhlambe ngaba yini isizathu salamazwi afana nawo lawa, and okunye la ukuthi okay, actually ngabe mhlambe uselahle ithemba ngenhlangano le kuyona ANC kanti futhi ngabe lokhu kuyiqiniso?
Okay, so the reason uTholo Jacob Zuma ekhuluma kanjalo ukuthi ANC is dead or ifile. Okay, it starts on the idea or on the point of factionalism or factional battles within the ANC, and we ask the question which sort or which side Jacob Zuma or which faction does he fall into. We find which faction fall under yona, they call themselves a faction that they call themselves RET forces. So as he says, ANC ifile, RET forces would say those who are in the faction of RET forces, they will talk about ideology or policies of the ANC, and they would say the reason Uzuma ethi ANC ifile, it's on those bases ukuthi he sees principles or a position ANC driving away from an ideological positioning Jacob Zuma he knows ANC to be. So in this case would be the ideas that are based on the RET faction. So as they normally say they go in accordance to a freedom charter. So those are the things that make him as the former president Jacob Zuma abone ANC ukuthi file, not ukuthi maybe we'll see organization or ANC we might no longer see it with my elections or campaigning or in activities, but what if feel it's on the basis of our ideas and the mission ANC. That means there are changes from what he knows ANC to be. So in that way, ANC is feel in accordance to Jacob Zuma. So it's questionable in him, is it ANC on the grounds or on the basis, is it supposed to be on an ideas that he thinks he as an individual which ANC should be pushing this agenda. So it is on that a point to Jacob Zuma ANC ifile because in the narrative engasayipusha cabanga ukuthi kufanele ngabe ihamba ngayo.
Asela isayiTVET college and ngeke ngabona la ukuthi lapha egama lakhe campus lapha egama lakhe kuqhubukela lapha umbhekiso abafundi bemisa ukufunda nokufundisa, and mangilandelela noma ngiyabheka baveza ukuthi abakawatholi actually amafunda allowances and kanti futhi nemali yokurenta for accommodation noma mhlawumbe izindawo zokuhlala abanayo as well. so kuphinde futhi kube inkinga le yezinsiza kufunda mhlawumbe kungabe kungani mhlawumbe kuze kushaye lesikhathi sonyaka and mhlawumbe kusanezinkinga ezifana nalezi kwisikhungo mhlawumbe zemfundo ephakeme before I further continue mhlawumbe I further put another question on this one.
Okay, so i-reason uthola ukuthi kusana lama problems kwi institution of higher learning like inside the TVET college, it's on the basis whereby there is a lack of willingness from the side of what or it can be the side of institution what does it have communication with our students in a way that is contingent noma ngendlela efanele yini ukuthi bakwazi ukuthola ama issues abhekene nama students. So ukuthi ke kuze kushaya lesisikhathi sonyaka ukuthi sizinalama issues njoba kuke kwavela imbhikisho eminingi from different universities across the country and different colleges, you find ukuthi ama college ama universities might be getting more attention because of what support futhi ayitholayo on the basis of from government or from even from the civil society ukuthi they receive more attention, sure, aside from ama TVET colleges. So that is one of the problems you see ama issues afana nalawa as a continue we are still seeing them in TVET colleges. So that is one point, that is the first point ukuthi should ama TVET colleges are not getting the attention they need like our universities. If we make an example, there was a protest, a strike by our students as a vet, whereby they were against certain aspects ababona ukuthi there was a sidelining of our students akhona thila angakwazanga ukuregister, and you saw ukuthi attention it received a lot of attention from media, it received a lot of attention from the civil society, whereby abantu abaningi bekwazi ukusympathize because attention and message ikwazi ukuspread across South Africa. But you find ukuthi kunama colleges, some universities also like Walter Sisulu, maybe we talk about Fort Hare, whereby they don't receive the same recognition like other universities, whereby they will be taken or be seen to be in the top, one of the top universities, maybe top 10, top 5. So there is that approach with government and universities and TVET colleges asala behind from in ukusizakala noma ukusizwa. So the problem webanga lokho ukuthi sigcine siqhubeka sibe nalezi nkinga kusho ukuthi there is a level of willingness from the government side, and also yeah, it's from the government side because they are failing to integrate or to make our colleges to have the same capacity as those or as our universities, because university in most cases if there's a problem you'll find which in their corner would get a solution faster. It's because of exposure basuke bebanayo and the help from the civil society South Africa.
All right, looking at this matter sakuyona mhlambe ngawiside labafundi umphumela mhlambe actually umthelela ungasube khona ngalokho mhlambe ngaba imuphi ekufundeni kwabo, what should be maybe ngabe ngimaphi ama outcomes esingasiwathole on this matter sikhuluma ngayo, and nalokuthi mhlambe who should be holding accountable on this one, or should I say mhlambe or responsible for these matters.
Okay, so on this issue, because we find our students from that particular college, which is aside the TVET college, I think it was Kamalake campus, so whereby they were complaining, you find issues that they are presenting. There's an issue of accommodation, you find an issue of food allowance. So if you talk about the food allowance, you are saying that umuntu kusho ukuthi indlela azophila ngayo ukudla lokho ukuthi izini abafundi bakwazi ukudla, and also the issue of renting. So if you talk about the accommodation, you're talking about the issues of renting. That means on that part, it can happen ukuthi the government might have provided the institution with the money to accommodate or to provide to ama-students. So it happens ukuthi i-institution yona igcine mhlambe ingenzanga ngokufanele, kube khona isandla esingafanele esiphazamisa i-process. And at the end i-institution igcina seyihluleka yini ukuprovide noma ingaprovide noma ingawasolve ama-issues ama-students in a way that is better and that will be faster. Kusho ukuthi-ke uthola ukuthi-ke ama-students asema-TVET colleges noma it's ma-TVET colleges who are affected by this. You find ukuthi-ke manje sebefila noma sebebhekana nalezo zinkinga. It happens if you cannot pay for accommodation, you'll find ukuthi they will be kicked out from where they stay. So what should happen? What should we ask about institutions, because TVET college or from SI TVET college, is that if students they are renting on kunama premises outside, kusho ukuthi there is a limited space ukuthi ngaphakathi kwa-institution lapho uthola ukuthi sikhuluma ngani ngama-residences a-ownwa yiyona i-institution. Kusho ukuthi lokho kulidele ekuthini abafundi bafune accommodation outside of the institution. So that is the first problem ebakhona noma engiyibonayo from that particular point, ukuthi kusho ukuthi ama-students, because njengoba ekuzomele edinge into yokurenta, kanti if they were staying within ama-residences a-leased noma akhokhelwa i-institution ngokwayo, kungabe shuthi le issue le accommodation noma ye-renting ingabe isi-solved. So in that way we blame the government, we blame the institution, both of them. Kusho ukuthi government has not put enough money for that institution to be able to build, to make ama-residences for ama-students, so that kuzofana ingakho kade ngikhuluma indaba yani ama-differences between a university and a college or a TVET college. Because a university, you'll find ama-students, no matter how many of them, you'll find ama-universities about ama-students like 40,000, but you'll find ukuthi kuzoba khona ama-residences abanele labo bafundi noma abafundi bazokwazi ukuba accommodated in a way, noma kuba khona i-shortage of space kodwa isima limited. But you find ukuthi ama-TVET colleges or ama-colleges abafundi, they have to find indawo zokuhlala ngokwabo. Kusho ukuthi-ke uhulumeni angawathathi serious noma angawathathi seriously ama-institutions lawa esiwabiza ngama-TVETs, and in that way-ke u-allow leyo victimization to ama-students. So there is a need ukuthi-ke kuphampwe imali eningi noma ku-investwe more kwima-TVET colleges, kwakhiwe wona zona lezo indawo lezo kwima-residences noma esizibiza ngama-reses ama-students. Kusho ukuthi-ke ama-res lapho ama-students azokwazi ukuhlala khona kwanda isibalo, kungabi khona isibalo esilimited. You'll find mhlawumbe mekhona i-residence in that TVET college izo accommodate mhlawumbe, let's say a TVET college in about 40,000 or 50,000 students, but you'll find ukuthi residents ekhona only accommodate 2,000 students. So how about all other students lawa asele ngaphandle? So it's one of the first things that must be solved. It should be solved by government, and also our institutions should put pressure on the government to kube khona leyo civil or mutual understanding. So I think that's where the problem lies in terms of the problem that you are mentioning with the side.
All right, let's begin. Everybody noma mehla bethenje ukusukela izolo kumongameli wezwe and umnumzana Cyril Ramaphosa zibekade evelile kwi-commission, and all eyes were on him. So President Cyril Ramaphosa uveze ukuthi i-ANC iwu-accused number 1, and mase kuza kumacala enkohlakalo, kungabe mhlambe yini ebangela umongameli amazwi afana nalawa, and mhlambe waqondise kwi-ANC noma mhlambe waqondise kwilona iqembu layo i-ANC, kanti futhi kungabe mhlambe lokhu akusoyo kuyiqiniso?
Okay, so if Cyril ethi ANC is accused number 1, we must first look at what do we mean by ANC. ANC akusizona izidonga, so noma sikhuluma ngamaphepha, we're talking about individuals that make up the organization as an ANC. Kusho ukuthi if you say ANC is accused number 1 in terms of corruption, you are implicating a majority or most of our members of the ANC. You're calling them that kusho ukuthi they are part and parcel of that corruption. Kusho ukuthi you are pointing to even an ordinary member, umuntu ozihlalele ekhaya kodwa member ye-ANC, who maybe is not even a government official. Kusho ukuthi you are pointifying that person ukuthi is also part of those corrupt individuals when we talk about what ANC is accused number one in terms of corruption. So that is the first problem. Kusho ukuthi ke kuba more problematic when it comes from its president. Kusho ukuthi is saying all of my members, including me, I'm part and parcel of those who are corrupt. Because if you are saying ANC is accused number one, asikhuluma ma individual or people who make up that particular organization. Okay. So in that way, he's saying we as the ANC, including me, I am corrupt. Maybe it might happen I'm as excluded from that particular saying. So initially, it means if it is accused number one, everyone within the ANC is actually corrupt. So in it having a strong basis, I would be lying if I would say it's true, because I would be saying each and every member of the ANC is corrupt. But there are those individuals who are in the higher structures, maybe powers go in municipalities, in government, you'll find them, and even we commission very. They are investigating abantu high structures ANC. So initially they do not define ANC those individuals higher structures, but ANC is an organization made by abantu abaning. So in that way there is a mistake in the way Ramaphosa ayibeke ngayo ukuthi ANC is accused number one. Because kunabantu kunezalukwazi ezihlele ekhaya mhlawumbe ne-membership ye-ANC. They are also members of the ANC, so we cannot say ANC is accused number one. Yes.
All right. We're still on him, and he once again, uphinde futhi umongameli wezwe uSiril Ramaphosa waveza ukuthi i-ANC ayizamanga ngokusemandleni mhlambe ayo kulwa nenkohlakalo ezweni, and mhlambe ngabe kuyiqiniso ukuthi mhlambe i-ANC ihlulekile ukulwa nenkohlakalo, kanti futhi at the same time lokhu sinikeza siphi mhlambe isithombe ngeqembu lebusayo.
All right, so if like in terms of ukuthi i-ANC ihlulekile kulwa nenkohlakalo, sikhuluma kusho ukuthi futhi sibukela kubona, because the high decision makers, abantu abahleli lapha sibabiza nge-top 6 NEC ANC. So if sithi ke ihlulekile ukulwa nenkohlakalo, kusho ukuthi bona laba ma-leaders be-ANC bahlulekile kahle kahle ukuleader in a constructive way i-organization ekuyi-African National Congress. Kusho ukuthi ke ingakho ke sowuthola kuba ileso simo noma eveza lawo mazwi ubani uSiril Ramaphosa. Masikhumbule ukuthi ke which part of noma i-commission, ngoba lewa umazi kade wakhipha kwi-commission, kusho ukuthi i-commission ibhekisisa ini isikhathi lapho sikhuluma khona from Gupta, ngesikhathi sama-Gupta, ukuthi under administration ka-Jacob Zuma. Kusho ukuthi ke mengabe ekhuluma ngalokho upoint fire to that particular time. So if sizoconclude futhi kulelo point lokuthi okay, ANC ihlulekile ukulwa nenkohlakalo in a broader sense, sizobuyela kumele sihambe siyopointa nakuyizikhathi isaqala ukungena from power, even maybe to the times of of Nelson Mandela to Thabo Mbeki. I don't think uSiril Ramaphosa might be talking about that, but he is pointing to that particular time where i-commission is investigating ekuthi ke isikhathi lapho kukhulunywa khona ke nge-involvement yama-Guptas and also uJacob Zuma allowing i-capturing of South Africa. So that is what is the main issue that is pointed by uSiril Ramaphosa. So in a way ukuthi ke bahlulekile noma ihlulekile ANC ukulwa nenkohlakalo, kusho ukuthi ke under the administration of Jacob Zuma there was that problem whereby they failed to ukulwa nenkohlakalo. But one question, he was also a deputy president, or one point he was the deputy president there. So akakwazi ukuyishiya ngaphandle ukuthi ke bahluleke ukulwa nenkohlakalo, because once we say in ANC we are pointing to a whole structure or even abantu abakuma basic units, but there is a top 6 whereby is that is trusted ukuthi ingathatha ama decisions for the entire organization, which is ANC. So them as the leaders have failed to lead the ANC as the organization.
Okay, and kuno process noma umgomo oqhubekayo we-vaccine, as people need to be vaccinated, and as we are still facing the COVID-19 pandemic. And let's look at here, US President Joe Biden, and he has lifted outdoor mask guidelines and masikhuluma nje for those asebe vaccinated noma asebe vaccinated. Mhlambe lokho kusuthini before I say anything else?
Okay, so le ukuthi the lifting of wearing of mask for outdoor gatherings, it means ukuthi if you have been vaccinated usungaphumela ngaphandle in a way, mhlawumbe ushayula umoya usihambele nje kahle without wearing a mask because usu vaccinated. Kusho ukuthi ke lokho i-USA izibona ukuthi mhlawumbe isikwazile ukulwa noma emva kokuthi ke sekukhona laba sebe vaccinated babone ngathi ke kusho ukuthi impi yabo ne coronavirus isiya ngasemaphethelweni noma sebekwazile ukulwa nayo ngendlela efanele. Kusho ukuthi ke ingakho ke seba nalelo qholo noma ukwezethemba ukuthi ke asho ukuthi ke ama citizens ase allowed lawa vaccinated ukuthi akwazi ukuhambela ngaphandle kokufaka ama mask baye kwizindawo nje ezivulekile noma aphumele ngaphandle. Yes.
All right, asiqhubeke khona lapho. Ekuthenini mhlambe, are there any other countries who have actually done this or done the same thing? Mhlambe khona amanye amazwe esenza into efanayo nenziwe iyona i-USA, ekuthenini mhlambe kuphakanyiswe imigomo noma imithaqango yayo i-COVID-19, mhlambe mangabe usugomile usungakwazi ukuthi uphumele ngaphandle mhlawumbe ungayifaki imask yakho, but only those mhlawumbe asebegomile. Ngabe mhlawumbe khona yini amanye amazwe nawo futhi asethe awenza into efanayo nanokuthi mhlawumbe masingabheka la eNingizimu Afrika mhlawumbe when will be that time ekutheni mhlawumbe kufike khona la ekuthenini we also no longer wearing those marks noma mhlawumbe ufika kuleso stage leso so ukuthi mhlawumbe mawuphumela ngaphandle usungakwazi ukuthi uphume imask ungayifakanga noma ungayifaki?
Okay, so on that particular point, ukuthi amapha amazwe ase followishe noma are on the same level as USA in terms of achievement in the fight against the coronavirus. It is one of them is China. China has reached that particular point whereby you find ukuthi abantu they are most of them are no longer wearing a mask. You even ask yourself, when was the last time you heard about insurgencies in China about the coronavirus or all those things? So shuthi i-vaccination program yakhona ibe nako ukuqhubeka ngendlela efanele noma sebekwazile ukureacha leyo particular point esibiza ngani nge-herd immunity. So mesikhuluma nge-herd immunity lapho so vaccinated khona abantu abanele noma isibalo sanele ukuthi ke manje ungasho ukuthi cha abantu sebengakhululeka indlela abenza ngayo. Kusho ukuthi ke China is one of those countries who have reached that level of ukuthi ke they have reached herd immunity. And also ke Britain is also considering imposing also the same regulations as the US or uplifting the same protocols as US as they have seen themselves or baqagula ukuthi ke mancane amathuba ukuthi bona njengezwe or noma njengezwe ukuthi baye bathole i-third wave. Kusho ukuthi sebe-reachile yona lento esibiza nge-herd immunity. I-herd immunity ke ilapho ke so reachile i-level efanele ukuthi ke isibalo sabantu abumele bavaccinate ukuze uvikele ukwanda noma ukubhebhetheka kwegcikwane le-coronavirus. Kusho ukuthi usuyi-reachile. Kusho ukuthi ke thina njenge-South Africa ukuthi sifike kulo level kusabuya kumqansa noma kunzima ukuthi sifike lapho ngenxa yani yokuthi uhulumeni wethu ube slow noma uslow kakhulu ube slow kwi-procurement yama-vaccines. Kusho ukuthi ekuthengeni ama-vaccines siwathenge late. Kodwa futhi ke ngaphandle kwalokho sithola ukuthi kube khona ukuphazamiseka okuningi kwi-program yokuvaccinate kwabantu. Uma uthatha ukubheka futhi isibalo sabantu asebe asebe vaccinated abakafi ngisho na kwi-million abantu esingathi sebe vaccinated eSouth Africa, kanti herd immunity yethu eSouth Africa kuvela ukuthi kufanele reach about 40 million people should be vaccinated. Imagine ke manje by now akaka vaccinate even a million, kusho ukuthi kusakude sifike kwi-herd immunity, kusengashaya unyaka ozayo sisabhetlisha with the problem of i-coronavirus. So sisakude ukuthi sibe in the same level as those 3 countries, USA, China and Britain.
All right, mhlambe my last question would be ukuthi ngabe mhlambe lokho it's a sign in showing ukuthi indaba ye COVID-19 noma i-COVID-19 iya becoming actually a thing of a past iya mhlambe yehla, looking at on the other countries.
Yes, singasho ukuthi lezi izinto ezivelayo noma ezenzakalayo kwimazwe njengo-US or UK or Britain kuze kuyoshaya eChina izimpawu ezijabulisayo lezo, kusho ukuthi ke empini ne-coronavirus kusho ukuthi khona ama-signs ukuthi ke izoba defeated, kusho ukuthi sizokwazi ukugcina sibuyelile esimweni sokuphila esijwayele, ekuyinto ke leyo jabulisayo ukuthi ke mhlawumbe sesokwazi nje ukwenza izinto ngokukhululeka. Kodwa ke phela ke ngoba kuyavela ukuthi mhlawumbe yinto futhi engenzeka kube into eqhubekayo isikhathi eside, kube mhlawumbe isifo nje esihlalayo lapho uthola ukuthi abantu kuzomela baloke bengena kwi-program yokuthi bagonywe into efana nalezo. Kusho ukuthi ke kuleso simo leso ilokho nje ingase kube ukuthi kuyasala, kodwa ke esimeni sokuthi ke impi yayo i-coronavirus mengabe khona amazwe asekwazi ukuthi alifte leyo mgomo leyo ukuthi kukhona indawo noma usungakwazi ukuphuma ngaphandle kwemask, kusho ukuthi ke impi esinayo kanye ne-coronavirus isiya ngasemaphethelweni.
All right, it's actually 42 minutes after 7, and we're going to get hours with Dr. Music. Right now, we're seeing political affairs and see on what was happening in the last 2 days on news which were actually taking place.